Podcast family, the episode that you are about to watch was recorded over a month ago, and it's crazy to me to see how quickly things have changed in just a short month. Everything that we thought was a priority instantly got replaced by the things that actually matter: our families, our friends, our teams, our customers, our neighbors, and our community. And I'm inspired by that. I know that we're in a very trying time right now, but I am just inspired by everybody coming together. That is exactly why this podcast was created, was to pull this community together. And if there's anything that we can do for you guys during this coronavirus crisis, please reach out to me directly or via our website, or just reach out to us. Let us know how we can help you get through this time. That is why we are here. You guys, things are going to be okay. We're going to re-strategize. We're going to shift all goals. It's amazing. All the goals that I laid out in January instantly disappeared. They went out the window. I'm creating new goals for this year just based on everything that's happened, even in the last few days here. So I just wanted to offer you guys a word of encouragement, just let you know that we've got this. We will adapt, we will re-strategize, and we will get through this together as a community. And if there's anything that we can do here at the WHOA GNV podcast team to help you out, please reach out. We'd be happy to do so. Much love to all of you guys. See you later. You are listening to WHOA Podcast, coming to you from Gainesville, Florida. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of WHOA GNV Podcast, the podcast bringing you businesses and individuals that make you go, whoa. I am your host, Colin Austin, and to my left is the Scooter Ninja fighting for students to be able to get to class at their convenience. Michael Dees, what is up, man?
I'm the Scooter Ninja.
Yeah, ninja.
Fighting for the students' right to get to class. I love that.
Like Donatello.
Like Donatello. We were talking about Ninja Turtles earlier. Donatello is the one that doesn't get the respect that he deserves.
Yeah, but Leonardo was the leader, so like, don't you feel like?
Yeah.
Am I Leonardo then?
Wait, which one? Wait, what was your favorite turtle growing up?
Oh, man.
Did you have one?
I didn't really have one.
So.
I always liked Casey Jones.
Did you really?
Hockey stick.
You're the Casey Jones fan? Is it because he got April?
Did he? Oh, he did get April.
He did get April. You forgot that. I didn't forget that.
Anyway, hey.
Yeah, that's a tangent.
You guys, I got big news.
Let's hear it.
This episode is brought to you by the one, the only, New Scooters for Less, baby.
It's right.
That's right. We're sponsoring this episode. We sponsored a lot of these episodes, actually.
To be fair.
To be fair, because we have invested quite a bit of money in this. But Mike, what is the best scooter for the businessman or woman in town?
Ooh, that would be any scooter from New Scooters for Less.
What about UF Professor?
Any expensive? No, I'm just kidding. A Vespa. A Vespa. That's what a professor should get, a Vespa, or maybe like something electric.
Were you gonna say the most expensive? What were you gonna say?
Yeah, I was gonna say the most
expensive one, of course.
In my mind, professors have more money. Maybe that's not true. But.
What's the one thing that most people would not know about New Scooters for Less?
I would say that we sell e-bikes.
E-bikes
are an up and coming thing, not only in our market but nationwide, and we've been selling them for a couple years. But I would say a lot of people don't know that that's out there and that New Scooters for Less has them. So if that's something that you might be interested in, check it out. Yeah, I mean, like, we have all kinds of different models. Some that are for the outdoor enthusiasts, the retired community. RVers, stuff like that, but also for students that are great for transportation, some that are good for beach. So wherever you may be listening,
a lot of benefits. Yeah. You could bike to work.
Yeah,
you don't need registration. You don't need
have
any
to
of that kind of
if
stuff.
it breaks down, you still got a bicycle. You don't have to worry about service weights, which is like pretty cool. Yeah, there's a ton of benefits to them. They have. I'm gonna do this whole pitch right now. they have. You can pedal it like a bicycle. They have a pedal assist, which will basically just kind of keep you in cadence, and then they have a thumb throttle. So if you just hit the thumb throttle, they'll go like 20 miles an hour, which is enough to get you around most areas. And yeah, they're cool. I've never done a test drive with somebody on an e-bike that didn't like get done and be like, oh my God, that was so cool. They're like smiling after they do it. So yeah, check them out.
That's cool. You guys, give us a call at 352-336-1271 or visit us at newscootersforless.com or check out our awesome content at ns4l.tv, baby.
Sweet.
And hey, listen up. You guys, if you want your business to be featured as a sponsor, hit me up at Colin, COLLIN, at repaintthewall.com, and we can hook it up. We appreciate your support, and I'm like so amped because here we are getting ready to go into year 3. So if you are interested in sponsoring our podcast, reach out to me and let's get it set up, man. We really appreciate your support, Gainesville. Thanks for everything you do. And real quick, just want to let everybody know about an event that's happening soon. You want to tell everybody?
Yeah, I was actually really excited to see this one come across. It's the 19th annual Guest Chef Gainesville benefiting Peaceful Pass. Enjoy 35 delicious recipes from home cooks and chefs all over Gainesville while supporting victims of domestic violence. Guest Chef Gainesville is at the Cade Museum on Thursday, April 2nd, 2020, and you can buy tickets at guestchefgainesville.com. Just like it's spelled, GUESTCHEFGAINESVILLE.com, guestchefgainesville.com. Super cool benefit for a great cause. Man, I love to cook. I was reading this earlier. I was like, I might actually enter this.
Yeah, for real.
We'll see. I'm gonna dabble a little bit.
Well, and this episode's going out right at the end of March, so you don't have much time. So definitely get your ticket to that.
True.
And let's just get into it. I'm ready to get the show going. Trying to speed up the intros. Get in there. Let's go. Let's get to the core of it all. So you guys, I am super amped about this. Today on the show we have Michael Tomaino, author and game developer. His company Platinum Arts is focused on helping kids become real life superheroes. Welcome to our show. What's up, man? How are you?
I am fantastic. I'm so happy to be here. I couldn't be more happy.
Yeah, let's get into it. So on our show, we really like to tell your story, man. Like to throw it back, find out like everything about you. So tell us your story. What got you to Gainesville? All that kind of good stuff.
So what brought me to Gainesville is fleeing the cold. Pretty much as simple as that.
Where were you from?
I'm from New York, upstate New York originally, and it is really cold there. And I was kind of tired of, being stuck inside 9 months out of the year. And here, it still boggles my mind that I can walk outside in shorts in January and February. I mean, that's the best thing ever. If I tried to do that in New York, I would, not survive.
How cold does it have to be here for you to put on like the full pants and like jacket and everything?
So I get a lot of flack for this, but if it's like below 70, then it's time to suit up.
Okay.
You're like a true Floridian.
Yeah, you've made it.
Yeah, you made it. Like you're in the club.
Everyone, I hear it like almost every day. You're from New York. You should be used to it. Like, no, that's why I'm here. That's why I left my friends and my family to just try to be warm.
So when did that happen? When did you come down here?
I believe it was 2013.
Okay. And that was the only reason, like, why'd you choose Gainesville? Like, what brought you here?
So my brother lives in Orange County, California, and my best friend from middle school lives in Gainesville. So it was either pay, a crazy amount of rent in Orange County, California, or live in Gainesville and actually be able to fly out to see my brother every month if I so choose, and actually save money still on rent and stay here. So it was, pretty easy decision.
Those are the only two decisions? Those are the two places? Like, let me go to one or the other?
Well, I wanted to move somewhere where I knew someone so that I could, have them help me get set up. Because I don't want to just move somewhere where I didn't know anybody. If I could move somewhere where I knew someone and they could, help me at least get like established, I thought it would be a good idea.
Okay.
So.
Cool. So it was 2013, you said?
Yes.
All right. And so you got here, and then what?
And so then I started. So first I worked in a daycare, and then I worked at a school for about 4 years. I worked at One Room.
Okay, so when you were in New York, did you go to college up there, or?
I did.
Okay. And when did you graduate?
Let's see, 2003.
Okay. All right. So, and then what was your degree in?
Psychology.
Psychology.
And my minor was in writing.
Okay. So is that what you wanted to get into when you got down here? Like why? What? Yeah, just.
So for the longest time in my life, I really wanted to be a child psychologist, because I really wanted to help kids, and unfortunately I found out it wasn't until senior year that I found out that I wasn't able to handle it emotionally, because it's pretty rough. And
What are you talking about? Your senior year of school?
senior year of college, yeah. And maybe this is getting a little bit too deep, but
Go deep, brother. Go deep.
I had a fellow student who she was black, and she was telling me how she cut her skin because she was white underneath. And
oh my gosh.
yeah, and so this is, an adult, and I couldn't sleep at night, just like thinking like how horrible it must be that just to feel that she was white, she would cut her skin. And so I realized that, if I couldn't handle an adult, having this kind of trouble, like that, if a kid was having this kind of trouble, like there's no way it would work out. Because
What, that just got to you? Like you just couldn't handle that?
I mean, it's just like unimaginable to me that like someone would like actually like do harm to themselves because like just like the want to be white was so strong that they would actually inflict self-harm.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
And
poor girl.
and like, and when it comes to kids too, I'm an older brother, and so going through high school, like no one was allowed to touch my brother. It was, and so like any like little kids that would like come in, like they were, if I was finding out they were like getting abused or whatever, it would be very hard for me to not go kindergarten cop, like Arnold. I ever seen the movie Kindergarten Cop?
Yeah.
Love that movie.
Dude,
Yeah. It's like,
I
how
haven't
do
seen
you,
that movie in forever. Where'd that movie go?
I feel like I reference that movie so much and no one gets it anymore. I think it came out like
That's tough.
1990 or something, but
I think it's every movie with Arnold. Like,
Yeah.
it might be true.
like you can pull from like every movie like so much. But yeah, like that movie.
It's not a tumor.
Yes, it's
you
not a
remember-
tuba.
Do you remember how old that girl was? Or like roughly?
She had to be around 20.
My gosh.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so that had a significant impact on you.
Significant, like to the point where I decided that going that route like wasn't for me, and that I wasn't sure what to do. So I ended up.
So you're like, let me go to Gainesville, Florida.
So this
Is that what crossed your mind?
So this was actually several years before. I mean, I know I look youthful, but I'm actually going to be 40 in 1 week plus a day from today.
Well, happy
Cool.
early
Happy
birthday,
birthday, man.
and I would say
Thanks.
that's still very young.
That's super young. What are you talking about?
Yeah. All right. I'm glad you guys say that. 'cause-
I'm 37, man. Come on.
Yeah.
I just turned 34.
I'm
so
gonna turn 38 in May.
We're close.
Like
we're all children. What are you talking about?
the fact that I'm like almost about to turn 40 is just like
Blows your mind.
Unreal. Yeah. Like whoever thought like that they would like be 40, it's like
No one grows up saying, I
like
can't wait to
even
be
30.
40.
Yeah, exactly.
I laugh at all the 21. Like I was speaking at UF today, and I'm like speaking to a group of 20. They're all 21-year-olds about to graduate, and I'm just, I'm like, man, I feel so old because I'm like, it's been 16 years since I graduated school, and I'm like, just so you guys know, it goes really, really fast. Just get ready.
It goes so fast.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that I'm almost 40, I mean, it doesn't feel like it was that long ago that I was in high school.
Yeah.
No, and especially in this town, though, like you said, it's like we are at New Scooters, our demographic is 18 to 22, and they churn. It's always 18 to 22, no matter how long you're in this business.
Yeah, of
so
course.
Like, you can. I was just telling somebody the other day, it's like I just turned 34 a couple weeks ago, and I could go literally anywhere in the country, and I'd be at the zenith of my like professional youth, and I'm in Gainesville, Florida, and I'm a grandpa. Like I feel like a dinosaur, whether it's coworkers or customers that come in. It's like I'm the old guy, and I don't feel like the old guy, but I am.
So how do you think I feel? 'Cause I'm quite a bit older than
Dude,
you.
we're all children.
Right.
Stop it.
Right, that's why.
So-
We're 40. You're young. You're young. Don't worry about it. At least you're young here.
Well, it's amazing too, like how like, when you think you're like, when you're younger, how like you think like when you're older, like you'll know like so much more. But then like when you're actually older, it's like, I still don't know like anything. Like I still have so much to learn and explore. And the main thing is, even though like I'm about to turn 40, I'm excited that I'm about to turn 40. Like I've made it. Like I'm gonna be happy about that. Like I'm not gonna try to be like upset that I'm like getting old. I'm just gonna be excited that I've made it that far.
Sure, that's a great outlook. You're like,
I'm like, we're children. Stop it.
Right.
Like, what are you guys talking about? Like, we're like kids. I don't understand what you guys are talking about. So much time, so many things to accomplish. So you chose to come to Gainesville and connect with your friend, middle school friend, you said.
Yes.
Right. All right. So what happened when you got here? You said you found the job. It was go ahead, preschool, and then what?
So the first thing was that it was much warmer than I expected. So I actually drove down here and just driving through, it was actually so cold like in South Carolina, and I came like really bundled up, and once I hit Florida, I was still in my jacket driving, and I just pretty much started roasting alive. And like it wasn't a good situation, and I just like showed up at the apartment complex, just not in the best condition, but I mean I was happy to be here, and so I started working at I did after school, so I worked with K through 5, and then after I stayed there for a few months, and then I wanted to get back into teaching, and so I worked at a school for several years. And so I worked at the one-room schoolhouse for a bit, and then my last stint was at the Stephen Foster. And so I worked in media there. And so it was actually that experience working at Stephen Foster that was a big part of this book.
So that led to you writing that book?
Big time.
Okay, so explain why.
So
you wrote this book. What's the book called?
It's called How to Be a Superhero.
Okay.
And
when did you write it?
So actually, this past year I wrote it.
All right, so you just got finished with it.
I just got finished with it.
Cool,
and
man.
I'm super pumped about it because it took me several months to do. And so the main purpose of the book was to try to take what worked for me teaching, because I've worked with kids for about 10 years now. Actually over 10 years, like from New York and in Gainesville. And I really wanted to take like what worked for me and put it in book form so that it could reach more than just one school and hopefully the entire world.
Okay. So, what's the point of the book?
So the main point of the book is that to help people become a real life superhero. So the book is actually nonfiction, and there's a lot of there's a lot of books out there that are similarly titled How to Be a Superhero, but it's like, like talking about like fantastical stuff, like shooting like lasers out of your eyes and stuff. But to me, like the definition of a superhero is that a hero helps people and a superhero helps a lot of people. Because if you think about like, Batman, Iron Man, they didn't really have like fantastical magical powers. They worked really hard. They ended up having a decent chunk of money, but it was mostly like the fruits of them working hard and wanting to help that they accomplished what they were able to accomplish. So the book is about being a real life superhero, and the first part, there's 3 main parts, and so the first part is about finding your real life superpowers, because we all have something like things that we're good at, that we excel at, and trying to identify them and help grow them. And then the second part is training our bodies and our minds, especially like eating better, exercising, and for our mind, like reading, learning, growing, and also dealing with negative emotions and dealing with like the negative sides. Because a lot of times, like a lot of books that I've read, and especially stuff for kids, is kind of like fluffy, happy all the time, but there's also like the negative side. Like we all have our bad days, and it's important to address those. And then the final part is actually, once you've begun your training and gone through your training, like going out into the world and being a real life superhero. And I have like different ways that you can go out and be a superhero. And my number one top, and I echo this at least four times in the book, is simply going outside and saying hi to as many people as you can. And it sounds so simple, but it's so powerful. Like there's so much happening when you actually say hi to somebody. You're acknowledging their existence. You're giving them like a level of acceptance where it can actually lead to something else. And I've seen so many times where, someone will be like down in the dumps and I'll just like walk by and say hi, and like their head will just like lift up and they just brighten up. It like brightens up their whole day, and it's amazing. And sometimes like people say, I ask them like how they're doing, and sometimes like they'll say, I'm fine, I'm okay, and I say like, I hope it goes from okay to awesome, and it just is like the final step to just like totally like brightening up their day, like their faces, like the transformation that it makes is just incredible. Like I was telling you earlier that I went to the doctor's office today, and just like walking through Shands, like when I was like going down the hallway, I made sure to say hi to everybody, and like there's a lot of people like in rough shape. I don't know their stories, but I just saw them go from like looking down in the dumps to just like hey, like how you doing?
Yeah, isn't that one of Steve Noodleberg's rules?
Yeah.
Smile.
Yeah, smile. Yeah.
So we had a guest on at the beginning of the year named Steve Noodleberg with his kids and Mark and Jake, and it was a high energy episode. But that was one of his rules, right? It was like smile, or like I don't know if that was the exact rule, but it was
right.
That was the point. It was like smile at someone, because when you smile at someone, smiling is infectious.
It's huge,
and I mean it's that exact point. So that's cool.
Did you have to, so you talk about saying hi to people, and then you mentioned, that like we all do that, hey, how are you? And you get those autopilot responses. I think we're all kind of guilty of it. Did you have to train yourself out of that autopilot response? Do you have a bag of tricks you go to, or have you trained yourself to be constantly present?
So I try to like vary it up a little bit, like, just like say like, oh, like, I'm having a great day, or like, like today's a great day, or, especially like if it can extend beyond just a hi, like I try to like slip in like a little joke, like especially like if they're like in the middle of like doing something or whatever, like if there's any way to add like a little bit of like humor to it, or like make it a little bit like personal, like I think it goes like a really long way. And because I saw like, I guess like I think they like help direct like people, where to go in the hospital. And I saw them like laughing about like some kind of like great story that like the guy was telling, was a guy and a girl. And I was like that sounds like it must have been like a great story. Like I wish I was like there for the beginning of it. And they just like got so into it, like they loved it. Just like any kind of like just any like little bit, like any little bit of effort just goes like such a long way.
So playing off of some of those some of the things you talked about in your book, like, so what's your superpower?
So I have several superpowers, and I think it's also important to identify weaknesses. So I do actually have some weaknesses too. And so I think one of my superpowers...
I have no idea what those are. What are weaknesses?
Exactly.
Vanity would be Colin's first weakness.
That's too perfect. So this cracked the kids up. So I also want to say too, so we can talk about this like after, like, so when I first worked at Stephen Foster, like one of the first things I did was ask each kid what their superpower was. And so when I was talking about my superpowers, I said I can eat really fast, which I've never seen anybody eat faster than me. And I can eat a lot of food. Like I'm not particularly big, but I can eat a lot of food. Like my stomach has like fantastic expansion abilities. Like especially like if I'm going to a buffet, I want to get my money's worth. So
don't we all?
Yeah. So I leave a buffet looking like I have triplets. So it's like
okay.
Like there was actually a
would that be a superpower?
So I'm not quite sure like the practical use for it, but it is definitely a power that that other people maybe don't have. Like it's definitely something that I have not seen many other times.
Okay.
And so, if nothing else, it's served as comic relief for me, because there was a Taco Bell a taco buffet. I'm sorry, in New York. And that's what Gainesville like really needs, is a taco buffet, because it was like high quality. Yeah, because you're eating Taco Bell before.
T-flats, Taco Tuesday.
So this was like high quality taco food at like $7 for an entire buffet. And so I would absolutely destroy that buffet. Like I would crush it. Like I didn't even bother with like the taco shells and the burrito shells. Like I literally just dumped everything into, like, they give you like this big like metal bowl, and I just dropped everything in and would just destroy it. And so I was walking home one time after the buffet, and I saw my reflection in the mirror, or I'm sorry, in a window, and my gut was so huge. Like it did not look good. And so that's when I realized that, I had the superpower of my stomach has expansion abilities.
I'm so glad that you're so proud of that. 'Cause I'm still questioning whether or not like that's a superpower. Mike, what's your superpower?
I'll go like I don't know, the first thing that comes to mind. You put me on the spot. Like I'll go the
That's what I do.
Yeah, the non-comedic way. It's something that I've trained myself to do over time. Is just be empathetic. I try
That
to.
is your superpower.
I try to be empathetic in every scenario, whether I can relate to it truly, and that might kind of go against the definition of empathy. But like whether I can relate to it truly or not, I just try to put myself in somebody's shoes or scenario and understand what they're going through. And we deal with that in customer service all the time. We deal with it personally. Like it's something that is definitely a goal-oriented thing. It's something that I try to do, and I don't always hit it like I want to, but something that I feel like I do well. How about you? I stalled for you so you could think about this.
I can fly, duh. It's like, it's my superpower, man.
X-ray vision.
I
have the ability. Sorry, I'll answer the question for real quick. I have. I don't know if you call it unique. I would say that I have a unique ability to get in front of an audience and inspire an audience. So like when I get on stage, even when I was at UF today speaking, that class was supposed to be over by like 5:10, 5:15, and 5:20, 5:25 starts coming around. Like we're still answering questions, and the ability to keep an audience engaged and really inspire a group, whether it's kids, whatever. Like I would say that that's my superpower.
So what kind of, when you ask that question and you say you ask it to adults or you ask it to kids, what kind of different, do the kids go more fantastical straight out of the movies, or do they give you something more serious, or is there a rhyme or reason?
A bit of both. But first, I want to say that I definitely think that your superpower is like you definitely have like a very calm, like collected, like demeanor for presenting. Like you are definitely a natural presenter.
Oh, thanks.
And for you, you definitely you have like this like really like positive glow about you. Like you definitely have like a very
He's
positive.
pregnant.
Yeah, is that it?
Good backhand range.
Just kidding. Of course.
You definitely like you have like you just have like this like beaming smile glow. Like your superpower is like you just radiate positivity.
That's
cool.
I feel
like
so
that.
honored to hear that.
Yeah,
That's so
radiate
cool.
positivity. I mean, it's interesting that you hear that say calm, because I would say that that's a demeanor that I've like started to get. Interestingly, I mean, talk about psychology, all this kind of stuff. And over the last year, one of the things that I have really carved out the time to do every morning is to meditate and pray. Like take that time for myself, very collective, very calm. And it has helped tremendously. I mean, in terms of the way I behave throughout the business day and respond to situations, like I would say that it's the reason why I've been so collected. But what's so great is that I still have, when I get on stage, when I'm, even on the mic or on video, like I can still bring like a high energy. And that energy and I think that's, I don't know if that's attractive. I don't know. People just feed off energy, right? Mm-hmm. Like you always like, oh man, you've got such a good energy. Like people feed off energy. And so I'm so glad that I can bring like a natural energy when I speak, and it just, pumps up a room, I guess. I don't know. I like it.
It's so interesting that you say that too, because I've actually been working on that myself, and working on gratitude. And like doing like a little like journaling in the morning, and like trying to like write what I'm grateful for. And like one of the most for me recently, like one of the biggest mind altering quotes is, and it's like it's been quoted like in different forms, but it's basically the idea of like, instead of like being upset about what you don't have, like being grateful for what you do have. And because like there's many times like I've been upset because like such and such like didn't work out or whatever, but it's like not under my control. But then like realizing like what I do have, and there's a Stoic quote by Marcus Aurelius where it's I'm blanking on the exact quote, but it's essentially being grateful for what you have and realizing that like if you didn't have it, that you would really wish that you did have it. And it kind of like just like blew my mind. But like the whole like it was like a really big mental flip, because I was like upset about like things that like weren't working out or whatever, when I was forgetting about like I actually have like so much going for me. So like meditating. Tim Ferriss actually has like a 5 things like he does in the morning, and that was like one of them, like meditating and like journaling and like doing like reps of something. So I've been doing push-ups, and like I've actually been finding all that like really helpful, and making your bed, and just trying to like get like the morning routine better. But like I definitely want to get. I've actually been really bad about meditating, but when I do, I definitely notice the effects. Like because when I get up in the morning, I just actually have like too much energy. And so I think like meditating would be really good for me.
Yeah, it's super interesting because, well, one, the other question that I wrote down before you even went into all that was, okay, so because you were talking about the 3 primary things in your book, right? Mm-hmm. And so I said, so one of the things I wrote down was the number 1 way that you exercise your mind. Like, would that be it? Doing those things?
So for me, it would definitely be reading and writing. Like I think both are so key. And also, I really like the quote from Will Smith where he talks about how running and reading are the 2 most important things. Because when you're running, and that voice like tells you like, like quit, like give up, and you like tell it like, no, like I'm going to like finish this goal. Like when you tell that voice no, like it just opens the door for everything. And then when it comes to reading, it's like, any problem that you've ever had, someone's had before, and you can find it like in a book. So I've really been trying to get back into reading, because unfortunately college actually kind of like hurt reading for me, because I had to read so many books. Like there was in high school too, like I had so many books that were forced on me.
Yeah,
and
it's not fun anymore.
Yeah.
No, yeah, and I actually enjoyed reading when I was a kid, but then when you're forced to actually read and like memorize all the stuff like from the books, it kind of like took away the joy of it. So yeah, I think reading and writing are huge. And there's a quote about writing, and so I think journaling is so important. And that's I write to know what I think, which I think is huge, because I don't know about you guys, but like my brain, they talk about like the monkey mind. My brain is like always like all over the place, but when I write, it forces me to take my thoughts and put it into like a cohesive form, so it kind of like focuses it. And
do you think like text messaging culture and stuff like that helps with that or detracts from that? Because on one side, like I feel like we lose a lot of interpersonal skills by always going to our phones and not having direct face-to-face conversations. But I'd also say that one of the things I really benefit from is the ability to not have that face-to-face conversation and sit down and organize my thoughts and use the correct words that I want to use to illustrate my point and be purposeful with my written communication. So I mean, what do you think about that and text communication as it relates to that point?
So I definitely think that like there's a huge difference between text communication and in-person communication. And I think that when you don't have the in-person communication, like you're actually losing a lot. And I've realized recently like the full effects, because like there'll be conversations that I have in person with people that are absolutely amazing. And then on text, it's just kind of, not like super exciting or involved. But I do like the fact that you can text people like nice things. Like I've been trying to make it more of a point of
like unicorn emojis or what?
So not unicorn emojis specifically,
just kidding.
but
just kidding.
But like, so one thing that I've been trying to play with and work on is simply texting my friends, like, I hope you're having a good week. Just something as simple as that, like just so they know that I'm, that I want them to have a nice week. That I'm hoping that they have a nice week, that I'm thinking about them, that they're important. And then it can kind of like branch off from there, which it usually does, like branch off into something more interesting.
So I have a friend, I'll give him a shout out, Rafael Diaz over at Main Street Motors. And I've used him as an example for our sales team. But one of the things that he does, and I absolutely love it. Like, I love it. Because he's got good energy. And one of the things that he does is that he'll pull out his phone and he'll record selfie video, right? And he'll send a message, hey Colin, what's up, man? I just want to let you know that I'm thinking about you today, praying for your brother. I hope you're having a great day. And he sends that message, like a video, quick 30-second, 60-second video,
that.
sends it to me, and it makes my day every time I see it. Like, absolutely love it. And so actually, like, I challenge our listening audience today to take a 30-second to 60-second video clip and send it to somebody and just instill that positivity and just tell somebody that you're appreciative of them today. Because like every time he does that, man, I feel so good. And so I'm trying to make it a point to do that kind of thing more. I'm also, even the voice recorder, how you can just like record, you like in the text, you just like record it. Like, I'm trying to get myself in the habit of doing that more, just saying, hey, I just thinking about you, or just so that they can hear the reflection in my voice and that kind of thing,
I think that is brilliant, and one of the things that I've always said that I think like constructive criticism is more valuable than gold because it helps you earn more gold. So I think you've actually taken it, and your friend has taken it a step up from what I was doing, and so that inspires me to take it a step up and do video or audio, because that makes it like so much more personable. And it actually kind of like goes back to they're saying hi to you, in like a real personable form. So yeah. I love that. I think that's fantastic.
I think it's just, I love technology. I love social media. I love all of these things that continue to evolve. But I think if you can still find ways to stay true to that authentic, like face-to-face relationship, using the tools in video format or, in that voice format, so that way you don't lose the context of a text. Like text message, like there's times where somebody sends me a text message, I'm like, oh crap, is this person mad at me? Like, like the way they said it, it's just very blunt, and like I gotta call them and like make sure they're not mad. I'm like, no, I'm not mad at all. I'm like, oh, okay, like you're like. Even when somebody says K, they respond K. Like,
they didn't say
K.
okay. Oh my gosh.
They didn't say okay.
They said
but
K.
like, don't you, Joanna, please, like if somebody says K, don't you take that as like they're like almost like just kind of short with you, right?
There's been whole studies about punctuation.
It's dismissive.
Right? Am I right?
Yeah.
It's like, it's dismissive. It's
if you use, like, there was a study, and I forget, I kind of curious to look it up later, but it was about if you use a period at the end of a statement in your text communication, how it's seen as more like curt and like, blunt than if you said the same sentence without a period at the end. And I'm like,
my goodness.
I actually am one of those like people that most people frown upon, and like I text like I write. I don't use a lot of shorthand. I like them to be properly punctuated, my sentences and everything like that. And a lot of people think that completely throws text communication out the door.
I use extra heart emojis to make sure everybody knows that I'm sending it with lots of love.
It's so interesting.
So the emojis are actually something that I'm just like starting to learn too. So it's exciting.
There's a scooter emoji.
Is there?
And they actually the National Emoji Convention met in Gainesville, Florida. And when they were coming out with a scooter emoji, they looked at New Scooters for Less and the Vespa that's on top of our sign, and they said that's going to be it.
Boom.
Oh my goodness.
That's totally BS. I'm not kidding. But they picked a yellow scooter, and it happens to be the one that's on our sign, which is cool, and that's kind of where I was going with that. This episode is brought to you by New Scooters for All
right, so Michael, real quick, you go by Mike or Michael?
Usually
really? Mike.
Yeah.
You go by Mike or Michael?
Usually Mike in these quarters, but yeah, Michael's my God-given name. So.
All right, so Mike, so you were talking about gratitude and stuff. Is that your number one way of handling the bad days? you know, when you're talking about, man, like you got that bad day, like what are the ways that you handle the bad days?
So I'm really glad that you mentioned that, because that's actually a big part of the book. And so I have like a whole list of things that that have worked for me.
Can I see that book real quick?
Absolutely.
Cool.
And so one really important thing about the book is when I was writing it, if I was having like a rough day or like entering like situations where I didn't think the book covered it, that meant that I needed to add an extra page to the book. So there's actually a ton of adult psychology in here that I've tried to distill down into like 35 sentences. That's why it took me about 4+ months to do. And so I'm super happy with the book, because I've, even though I went into teaching, I've always been super into psychology, past it. And it's what I do on a constant basis. So for me personally, what really works for me dealing with a bad day, I think one of the most fun is simply singing about the day and singing about like what's wrong or like what's upsetting me, because like it takes it from like this like really serious whatever, like when it's in my brain that like builds up, because like I'm sure as you guys have had, like when something like goes wrong, when you're just thinking about it, like it kind of gets a life of its own and it like gets worse and worse and worse. But like when you sing about it, it just like kind of like makes it like ridiculous, and then you realize that it's actually like not that bad. And when you sing too, like since you're actually doing something physical, it takes you out of your head, and it forces you to do something that's actually like real, and so it brings you to the present moment. And I think breathing in through your nose and out your mouth is really important. Exercise is huge. For me, a big thing is going running, because I still like to play a lot of sports. I think sports are really, really important, and I have that in the book too. Like I think physical exercise is huge, and even if you're not necessarily like good at a sport, just getting out and getting moving. I mean, like how I feel before a run and after is just night and day. And I have a whole list of things. Sometimes like I'll listen to I really like Conan O'Brien. I think it's funny. So if you can find anything that makes you laugh, it's huge. Anything that can like take you out of your head and into the present moment, I think is huge. I think actually even just if you do like some push-ups, that'd be a big deal.
So I'm gonna put you on the spot if I can. I'm curious how you do this. So you wake up tomorrow morning and your plumbing is shot, and then you burn your breakfast, and then on the way into work you get a flat tire. All right, how are you singing about that?
So I work from home, so if I got a flat tire around, like on my commute, like from my bed to my computer, it would be maybe that'd really be something.
Maybe but burn out a flip flop, step on a pop top or something. I don't know.
I got the idea, but like I was just like it's just like kind of funny like thinking about that. But yeah, so you have like the worst day possible. So I mean, I can just sing about like how I had a flat tire.
I want to hear you sing about it though.
So you don't want to hear my singing because like you will lose all your listeners.
No, give me like a little like I just want to see how your head goes through this, like how you start singing about it, like.
So if I personally like if I had the time, my go-to is definitely running. But so if I was to sing about it, I would just be like, I have a flat tire. This is not great, like I need a new tire, whatever you got to do. Like it's not like
do you rhyme your song? I'm just curious.
No,
okay.
I just try to make it as ridiculous as possible. And so I'm a really bad singer, so it's definitely not going to be like Andrea Bocelli.
Right.
I'm not going to be like belting out anything that anyone like ever wants to hear ever. But I think honestly just like making it like as ridiculous as possible, because like the majority of the problems that we face, in a day-to-day basis are relatively trivial. And I think like singing about it, like kind of like brings it back to that.
Okay, so can I transition a little bit?
Yeah, go for
Let's do it.
What's the video game creation side of this?
So
because it says like you do like video game creator.
So
haven't talked about that yet.
So we haven't. So that actually kind of goes back to the whole wanting to be a child psychologist bit. So when I got out of college, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, And because I thought that I was going to be a child psychologist, like that was it. And it was senior year that I realized that this is going to work out. So I ended up working in a produce department at a grocery store for a bit, which actually I really loved. Like I really loved like working with the customers. Like I would just go in. It was relatively simple, and so I started working on a video game mod for Doom 3. I don't know if you guys have ever played any of the Doom games or Doom 3. And I was not a big fan of Doom 3. So I was kind of upset about my purchase, and I wanted to make it more like the Doom games, original Doom games. And so I think it's actually a really important part. Like when we first started out, there was a poll for all the different Doom 3 mods. And there was like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of votes for every single mod, except our mod. Like people gave us like 5 votes. Like we had like 5 people that voted that they were excited about our mod. And instead of getting upset about it, I was like, I'm going to make this mod like the most possible fun for those 5 people and, my team as possible. Like it is going to be a blast. Like those 5 people are going to love it. Instead of like being like, like no one cared about our mod. So mod is just short for modification. And so what happened was a lot of those mods that had a lot of votes, they ended up trying to do too much and actually kind of like crash under their own weight, where we just tried to like keep it simple and fun and build off of it. So like it started small and built up. And we actually ended up winning the award for being the best Doom 3 mod of the year, which, is like a worldwide competition. So I flew out to San Jose and I got to meet all the top game developers in the world. Will Wright was out there, the creator of Sims, so I got to meet him. And I don't know if you guys have ever played the Unreal games, but I got to meet the developers there. The developers of World of Warcraft were there. Our table was right next to the Shadow of Colossus team. They actually flew in from, I think are they Japanese, I think? So
That's cool.
Yeah, not small. And it was at the GDC, so it was a big deal. And one of the coolest things too was like while I was working at the in the produce department, I could actually go to the magazine aisle and take a magazine, like a game magazine, off the shelf and open it up and find my work in there. So like my game would be in there, and oftentimes my name was in there.
That's cool. So are you relating that to this now, or was that just like a previous thing that you're doing, or?
So I started,
or I guess I'm just trying to see if there's a connection between what you're doing now and the gaming side.
So there is a bit. So because my goal is I really want to do a game that is based off the book. And so I did a lot of work. Like it was like really successful, and it won tons of awards. Was in like 30 plus magazines, and all this stuff. But it didn't really mean anything to me. And so there was one day that I was going to my parents' house just to take a break, and there was a kid that lived next door, and her name is Grace, and she was a kindergartner at the time, and she wanted to come over and play basketball with me, and so I was like, yeah, of course. And she came over, and she was getting really frustrated trying to get the basketball in the hoop. And I was like, no, Grace, just keep trying. You'll get it. And so she kept trying, and when she finally made it in, like the level of elation that just like encompassed her body, like it was so crazy, just like seeing like the transformation of someone that's like really distressed and unhappy to just, she couldn't have been more happy. And I was like, I facilitated that. Like I helped make that happen. And she ran over to her dad, and she was all happy. She's like, daddy, like I made it in the hoop. And I was like that to me was far more rewarding than all the accolades, like flying to San Jose, getting that award, all the magazine mentions, seeing my name in a magazine, like that was like so much more meaningful. And so that's when I decided to work with kids again. And so I started working with kids again at the YMCA, and they're getting rid of computers. And so I was like, I'll take them. And all I really had to use on the computers was Windows Paint. And I was like, well, I want these kids to be able to create and like tell stories. So I started working on some software for them called Platinum Art Sandbox. And I decided to release it online so everyone could use it. And it just ended up blowing up. And so the site that I was showing you before that, was on like 1.5K other sites, like that was for Platinum Art Sandbox. And so hundreds of schools internationally have used it, and which is pretty exciting. It has over 1 million downloads.
Dang.
And so
It's cool.
And so and the best part to me by far is hearing stories from teachers about how it's actually changed kids' lives. And my top favorite was from a teacher in the UK, where he was telling me that he had a student that was like harming himself and about to flunk out of school, and he showed the kid my software, and the kid was going home every day and using the software, and he's now on the honor roll. So
cool.
yeah,
Super rewarding, right?
I mean, it's like, what can be more rewarding than taking, helping someone who is on the path of destruction to like a path of positivity and growth, like essentially like completely changing their life into something destructive to something that they can live like a real life, like a full life.
Absolutely. That's awesome, man. Good for you.
And so that's where the book comes in. And like another part about the games too is like I've always like really tried to get my software into like children's hospitals, because I really want to help kids that are in rough situations. And so with the games, it was harder because of they don't have like the hardware for it. Like you have computers and setups for it. But like with a book, I figured that like everyone has a phone, everyone has a tablet, like everyone like has like access to that that form. So that's what I was hoping to do with the book. And I really want to do a video game version of the book too, that like focuses on helping people become superheroes, like putting in like the value and also the values that are in the book, and also like focus on creation. Because I think that creating, like there's like superhero was definitely intentional. Like it took me a long time to figure out like what I wanted to call it and like what I wanted to focus on. And there's like 3 like main aspects of being a superhero that I think are incredibly important. And it's the aspect of being a warrior and training yourself physically, mentally, and being a scholar. And Plato has a nice quote that I would horribly misquote if I tried it. How like it's important to be both an athlete and a scholar, because like if you're one or the other, then it's like it's unbalanced. But if you're both, then it's like the ideal situation. But I think there's also so those 2 are really important, like being the warrior, being the scholar, and being able to be a combination. Socrates talks about that too. And I think it's also really important to create, because for one, that's one thing that I have too, for if you're having a rough day, like just creating, just writing, just doing, like creating anything. It's such a huge deal. It just takes you out of it. But in every superhero too, like they create something. Like if it's the Hulk, like he's creating ripped muscles so that he can like flip over cars, or if it's Iron Man, he's creating like his suit of armor, or etc. Yeah, I think creating is super important.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I feel like in today's world, there's so much consuming, right? Because of the internet. I mean,
exactly.
You sit there and you consume so much content, like creating, getting outside of even if it's getting outside of your comfort zone. A lot of people won't create because it gets outside of their comfort zone, but get outside of your comfort zone, grow a little bit, create something. It's good for you.
I think you hit it on the head. And so like you nailed it. So this book is a nonfiction book. And so what I've been trying to work on after this is storybooks that are based on the values of this book. And so I've been studying the hero's journey a lot. Like Dan Harmon has like a really nice concise version of it. But so the first step of every hero's journey is leaving the comfort zone. Like I thought that the more I studied the hero's journey, the more I realized that like this isn't just like for stories, like this is like real life. Like this is like this correlates like with my life. Because there's like one of the one thing that happens in a lot of stories is that the hero refuses the call. like how many people do you see in life, where you see like they have a call and they refuse it, because they're afraid. Generally, it's fear. I mean, even for me, of course, there's like things that that I've been afraid. Even coming here. I mean, this is.
We're so intimidating, right?
Yeah. I mean, you guys are awesome.
He's
but
scary.
It's just like
He's scary, dude.
it's just the fact that like I know I'm going to be recorded. Both like video, audio. Like don't screw up. It's,
you have to put yourself out there, right? You have to be willing.
Exactly.
You have to be willing to put yourself out there, get outside your comfort zone. Not everybody will like it. So, some people might like it, some people won't. And then I mean, there's so much, we could dive into like a whole another podcast getting into this subject, but like I talk about it so much in terms of like when it comes to content creating, like people are afraid of what other people think. We care too much we care too much about being judged, and what somebody's going to think about us, and so therefore we don't do it, and we stay in our shells, and it's pretty common. Whereas like I don't know if it just took several years or just got to the point where I'm like, I don't care anymore. I'm gonna like, actually that's not true. You know what did it was the first taste. Like when you get that first taste of somebody telling you that something you created, right? Somebody reaches out to you and they say, Michael, this book changed my life.
Yeah, absolutely.
That moment, that's the fuel you need to do it 5 million more times. Right? That little taste. Because for you, that's success. When somebody saw me on stage and they said, hey man, like I just want to let you know, like that impacted me so much. Or when I have somebody message me that said this particular episode, this changed my life. Or, like those moments when that happens, or like I got a Facebook, did you see that Facebook message? I got a Facebook message the other day. Somebody messaged me directly and said that they got into a conversation with a friend. My name came up, and it was it was a long thought out message, and it was just a thank you. It was like, I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for what you're doing for the community. Thank you for your investment into Gainesville. And that's all it was. That's a little taste of why, it's like, this is why I do it. And that little taste is the motivation that I need to keep doing it and
Absolutely.
not fear, like what other people might think. Including the message that I still have hanging on my computer that says I'm terrible, I'm short and arrogant. Can I get that real quick? I keep this on my computer.
Whoever you are.
Her name's Allison.
Still listening.
Subject, a favor to ask. Dear Colin, you and your podcast both suck. You're short and arrogant. Your jokes are not funny. Please stop. Okay. Like a lot. I know I've talked about this before. A lot of people would let that stop them. They would never make another episode ever. Right?
Absolutely.
And for me, I'm just like, all right, Allison, let's see. Let's go. We're gonna see, and I'll hold that chip, and that's why I have it right there. I'm gonna that chip that'll be right here on my shoulder, and it will be that little motivation. But that's not why I do it. I do it because when I get those messages that say, "Man, you changed my life," right? They're like you're that changed my life. That impacted me in some way, and I just wanted to say thank you, and that's why I do this.
I mean,
why I create content, and why I speak on stage, and why I speak at UF. Sorry.
Well, that's awesome.
I keep going.
Mean, well, at the end of the day, I mean, that's what it's all about. Like when I mean, it's just like the email that I got from the guy in the UK. I mean, it's like, what could be more important than messages like that? Right. And your story with that negative message too reminds me of Stephen King, how he would post his rejection letters. I think he would actually like nail it into his like wall, and he had so many rejection letters that it actually made the nail fall out of the wall. So, like he used it as a source of inspiration. So I think it's like a really interesting parallel to what you do. And so one thing that I don't understand too is, so that lady doesn't think you're funny. Okay, then why watch her stuff? Like no one is like, like doing like a Clockwork Orange on her, where they're like forcing her to like view your content. It's like there's a lot of, if she doesn't like your content, then choose something else. Like I don't know.
Change the channel.
Well, exactly.
Of course, but with that said, like that's what I want everybody to realize. That's the world that we live in.
Right.
We live in a world where it's so much easier to, like maybe they're in a bad place, right? Maybe they're not.
Absolutely.
Maybe they're not in a good place in their life, and it's way easier for that person to go and tear you down to their level. That's just way easier. Why should they work their butts off to get to where you're at when I can just grab you and tear you down, right? And that's what happens. They get that mindset of like, I'm just gonna tear others down and hate on them, and I mean that's just the world that exists. And so I tell my kids this, man. I mean, talk about children. Like I'm trying to get my kids to understand that. When you're successful, whether it's in running, my kids are big time runners, like running, soccer, whatever, people are going to come after you. They're going to try to tear you down because they can't keep up and they're not willing to put in the work that you've put in. And that's just the way it is. So we got to wrap up in a minute, but before we do you know James Coates?
I don't.
Okay, I feel like you really need to know James Coates. James Coates is an entrepreneur here in Gainesville. He has a company called Phalanx Defense Systems, but he also has a nonprofit called Superheroes for Hope.
Okay.
And you ever see like the pictures of Shans and the Batmobile and like all that kind of stuff that happened? Like he has a Batmobile and he takes out the Shans and like all the children that are fighting cancer and stuff. And he does so much good. And like there's definitely some sort of like connection or collaboration with this, right? Like I feel like that would be a great connection and that you guys could possibly do some stuff together.
I think I have heard of it, and I think it's awesome.
Yeah. I'll have to connect you guys. So remind me, and I'll definitely do that because he's such a great guy.
I want to make one quick point about what you touched on with that lady, and I'm sure that she's definitely in like a rough place, and so I think it's good that you kept pushing on too, because maybe she really needs the show, like maybe she needs like that positivity. And because I've had people tell me too that, when I mentioned the whole going around saying hi to people, like, what about when people don't say hi back to you? And I say that, when you say hi to them and, you're going to have people that don't say hi back to you, but you don't know the kind of effect that you've had on them. You might have like said hi to someone that hasn't had someone say hi to them or acknowledge their existence in years or, like ever, really long time. And like they might have not just known how to react to it. It's not necessarily like a negative thing, or like maybe they really needed that and like they're still like processing it, and maybe next time they see you that they will say hi. And the most important thing is that you went out and you said hi. Whatever other people do is on them. Like you can only control you. And so if people don't say hi, then that's okay. That's on them. And maybe you had a profound effect on them. And also, like with the saying hi, it can have such a huge butterfly effect. Like maybe like even if that person like didn't say hi, like maybe like it did actually brighten up their day, and they're going home to their family happier because of it, and brightening up their family's day. And I just think it's so simple to just say hi. And like I was actually thinking about today, like what if you like went to a store and you just had 5 people like give you like turn and look at you and said hi? Like how amazing would that make your day?
Yeah.
Like I know for me, I would feel like a rock star. Like, whoa, like 5 people just said hi to me.
Is that crazy?
Like, yeah, like it would like totally just make my day like insanely good. And it's like the easiest thing. Like imagine if everyone in Gainesville or the United States or the world just said hi to each other. But let's just start with Gainesville. Imagine if everyone just said hi to each other like when you're passing.
Yep.
Like how good would that feel to just have 5 people say hi to you?
I mean, you're right. Like whether it's a smile, a simple hi. I mean, that like it can have so much impact, and you don't know where people are, like in that moment, right? We got to wrap up in a minute, but I want to share this quick story because that just triggered this, and it really was an impactful story for me. But my, this came from my church. My pastor one time told me, like they they were getting ready to go out and like do a bunch of like baptisms and stuff. Like they were gonna have this big event, gonna do a bunch of baptisms. So he like literally had to go to Lowe's to buy a hose, right? Had to go buy this hose, and as he's leaving, somebody comes up to the church and says, "Pastor, like, can I get some of your time? I really need some of your time." And he's like, he's like looking at us like, "Oh man, like." He's like, I really got to go get this done. I really need to go get this done. But he was like, okay, yeah, of course. Come on in. Like, let's go have a meeting. So he goes inside, sits down with them and says, what's going on? And the guy, like, luckily he took that moment, right? The guy is just opening up to him saying, like, thank you for taking the time. Like, I was actually on my way to go kill myself.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So like I was on my way to go kill myself, and he gets into this huge, like, into this conversation and is there for him. And I don't know all the details like of that conversation, of course, but what I do know is that at the conclusion of that meeting, that guy decided to give his life to Christ. He's like, I'm gonna let go. Like I'm gonna give it all. I'm gonna give it all to Jesus. Here it is, right? And he goes at the end of that. He's like, all right. The pastor was like, he said, okay, yeah, like that's all done. Like, I mean, I'm sure. Like, I don't even know what that must have felt like, but he's still thinking, I gotta go buy a hose. I gotta go buy a hose for these baptisms that are about to take place. And the guy's like, oh, I got one in my trunk, because he was gonna use the hose to kill himself, like through the exhaust of the car. And he had it in his trunk. So what ended up happening was that the hose that this guy was going to use to kill himself actually became the hose that he got baptized with. And like, wow. Yeah, like it's a powerful story. And like, I didn't mean to like go like too deep, but it is a powerful story, and I'm a believer, and I think it's important to realize that moment, like he took that moment, right, and helped that person, and if he hadn't, obviously it was destined, divine intervention, but like if he hadn't, that guy would have killed himself. So it's, that's, again, it's super deep. Sorry to end the episode super deep, but like, I think you're right. Like taking the time to smile, taking the time to, to say hi to someone, and just taking the time for someone who is in need is something that we need to do a lot more of. So there you go.
And it makes you feel good too. Like when you say hi to someone and they say hi back, it brightens up your day too.
It's not totally altruistic. Yeah, you get a positive kick from it too.
Like there's so much like back and forth, and like I really feel like there's so much like butterfly effect too. And I love that story, by the way. That's a fantastic story.
It's one that's had significant impact on me, and like one that just like stuck with me ever since I heard it. And I was like, man, like how impactful is that?
It is. It is really going to stick with me too, because what better way to illustrate the importance of just giving someone a second of your time?
Yep, exactly. So, real quick, where can excuse me, I'm still fighting this cold. Where can our audience connect with you, man? Like where can they find you on social media, all that kind of good stuff? I mean, can they buy this book? Like
they can. It's actually on Amazon, 5 stars. I'm excited to say.
Cool.
And
Congrats.
So thank you. And superherohill.com is the place to get it.
Okay.
And that's the main brand that I'm trying to grow is Superhero Hill. Platinum Arts is my company. But I definitely want to have a game based on this actually relatively soon, because I was working with my students. I was teaching computer science for a while too. And we're actually working on software that was like a lot like Minecraft, but it's open source, and it's super easy to modify. And I actually had a student, a second grader, who made his own gator block. Like he painted the gator symbol in Windows Paint.
Oh, dang.
And we coded it in. And
that's cool.
That kid literally told every single adult in that entire school, because I had every single person like come up to me and be like, "Oh, I heard James put his own block in the game." I was like, "Yep, yes, he did."
That's so neat.
Yeah, and so he was building a house out of getter blocks.
Very cool, man.
That's awesome.
Well, thanks so much for coming on our show. Thanks for sharing your story. Thanks for all those tidbits, man. That's really awesome. Good luck with the book. I hope it does amazing things for you. I mean, so what's next? Now that that's done, like what's next?
So next week, I actually have some school visits, which I'm super, super, super excited about, because I love teaching. I really like teaching. I just don't like everything that comes with teaching, how there's all like the different rules and stuff. And in this way, I can teach and not have to deal with the stuff. I can just go home and work on more books.
There you go.
And so I want to do story versions of this. And if I can figure it out, I would really love to do a Mr. Rogers-ish type of show where my land of make-believe would be more dealing with with superheroes. And because I have done a Twitch show where I streamed a Google document, and I had people tell me what they want their superheroes or supervillains to be, and or random characters, and then right on the stream just wrote a story about them. And but I'd really like to take that to a Mr. Rogers-ish type level, where I talk about a major point like Shanghai, and then have adventures with it. I really want it to be fun. So
cool, man. Well, best wishes with everything, man.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thanks for coming on our show, Mike. Yeah, any last things?
No, I think this was awesome. I would just say, audience, when you listen to this, take the challenge, do something, say hi to people, do something to brighten someone's day. I'm all about spreading that positivity, and I think this was a great episode to highlight that. So
what can you do?
Do what you can.
Spread a little love today. Do it up. Have a loving week, everybody. And real quick, you guys, please leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you're listening, and make sure you subscribe to the podcast. If you like the video versions, definitely go to WHOAGNV.tv or find us on Facebook, and buy a scooter. That's the last thing I'll say.
Yeah.
New Scooter Celeste, thank you for being a sponsor. Have an amazing week, you guys. We love you. This is the WHOA GNV podcast, the podcast.
Bring you businesses and individuals that make you go,
whoa. Give me your best whoa.
Whoa.
Sorry. I will get over this, I promise. I'm so sorry. Love you guys. Have a great week. Bye.